I'm Mario Martinez Jr., CEO and founder of Vengreso, and I've got with me a real treat. We've got some amazing guests that are going to be joining us, practitioners, leaders in the field who are going to be talking about modernizing, virtualizing, and digitizing the Salesforce in the current era that we're in right now. So first up, I get the privilege of introducing my guests, my panelists. I'd like to introduce Hang Black, Vice President of Global Sales Enablement and Technical Enablement as well. Hang, say hello, everyone, my friend.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. And I'm so excited you're here with me. And then also next, I've got Liz Bishop. She's actually the Executive Vice President of Heffins Insurance Brokers, which is one of the largest insurance brokers in California. And Liz, do me a favor. Say hello to all of our friends.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here, Mario, and supporting the process and helping everybody move forward in this environment. It's exciting.
And finally, my third panelist, who's making me look bad because he came to the table way nicer clothes than myself. And I said, do I have time to go run out and put my tie on? But I love it. Mr. Jodie Mattinson is the Vice President of Commercial Sales for Proofpoint, one of the largest cybersecurity companies in the world. Jodie, please say hello.
Hey, everyone. Mario, it's a pleasure to be here with you and the other panelists today. I'm super excited to talk about what others could do out there to really move forward in this new environment we face. A lot of challenges, but a lot of fun things we can do to help.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited to have all of you guys. Now, for all of you listening out there who are sales enablement professionals, sales leaders, or marketing leaders, this main stage session was really designed to help you get through some very big challenges. And we brought different leaders to the table, ranging from the companies with about 100 salespeople to companies with a couple thousand salespeople, and then right in between. So we really wanted to bring that diversity of the different organizations and sizes so that it can really help you all out in dealing with the issues of modernizing, digitizing, and virtualizing the Salesforce. And of course, I don't have to tell you, but now that all of our sellers have been forced to work remotely, it has forced us to think about how we modernize, how we digitize and virtualize our sellers in a way that impacts not only their success, but also the company success. And I don't think anybody would argue that we've entered into a new era and a new age of virtualization, and it's not going away. And one of the things that we have experienced here at Vengreso as we talk to sales leaders all over the globe, everywhere and everyone is trying to determine how to transform those sellers' digital skill sets with one goal in mind. That is, how do we modernize how they connect, engage, and convert virtualized buyers into more meaningful appointments and also closed won deals. So this fireside chat is just for you guys. And we've put together some really awesome questions that I think are going to help you guys out. There's also a chat somewhere in this panel here. I can't see it from my perspective, but there's a chat function. So what I'd love for you to do is go ahead and chat your questions away as you're hearing some of the dialogue and send it over to us. It will get to me, and I will do my best to try to answer any of those questions. So let's not delay anymore. I want to make sure that we take some time to talk about what it means to modernize and digitize our virtual field Salesforce. So Hang, I'd like to start with you first and take some time to answer that question from your perspective as a leader in sales enablement. What does it mean to you to modernize, digitize, and or virtualize the field force?
Well, I think we really need to meet our customers where they are. And most of them live in a digital world. They have been in the past few years, and COVID has only exacerbated that situation more. We know that customers only spend of their entire buying time, they only spend 5% of their time with us. So with each of the 3 vendors they may be speaking to. So how do we influence the other 95% of their time? So we want to make sure that we make it easy for our customers to buy and engage with them, meet them where they are, and add value.
Good. Appreciate that. And I think you were quoting maybe that Gartner study that talks about how buyers are spending about 17% of their time with a selling team, and presuming that you've got about 3 competitors or 3 folks involved, you're only getting a little over 5% of that sliver of 17. Is that what you're quoting from?
Yes, that's absolutely right. And, we want to make sure that we touch them, not in just their buying journey, but the whole customer life cycle, from first contact through the buying journey, through post sales, and through customer support, and then renewal, and the cycles again.
Valid. Jodie, I want to roll this over to you. You've got commercial sales, specifically from a sales leadership standpoint. And what does it mean when we say we need to modernize or digitize or virtualize the sales force?
Yeah, Mario, coming from an inside sales organization, when we really look at the new landscape of the pandemic that has forced us into, and everybody working from home, that side-by-side cubicles, they really no longer exist. So you can't stand over somebody's shoulder, you can't Y-jack into them. And really moving into modernization and digitize and the visualization, it's just giving them another toolkit inside their quiver to, attach to that customer base. As we heard earlier with Hang, that we got to meet them on their grounds. And their grounds nowadays is not picking up the telephone, it's looking at other medians to find out what their potential product could be or what they're really looking for. And it just gives my buyers a little bit better angle at it. Then it also allows me from a leader to inspect what they're doing. And to me, that's one of the most important things is that inspecting what are they doing and finding out what that outcome, because a process is a process. Without an outcome, it means nothing. And this is where we can really grade them, judge them, and point them in the right direction.
And I like what you said in terms of looking at how we digitize in other mediums that you said. I talk a lot about this, and I know all of you can appreciate this, especially being one of our customers, but never before, in my opinion, have we ever experienced something so interesting right now, and that is the selling motion is perfectly aligned with the buying motion, meaning our buyers are digitally connected, socially engaged, mobile attached, and video hungry. And that overlay of the selling motion and buying motion is right on top of each other. Our sellers are also digitally connected, socially engaged, mobile attached, and also video producers to be able to provide that to their customers. And one of the things that you mentioned was the old school Y connector. I think it was probably maybe 15 years ago or 20. I don't know which one it is, but somewhere along there where I used to plug into the Y connector, and that's no longer available, especially right now in a situation where we can't be face-to-face with most of our folks. And so that really comes into play where you talked about, Hang, you mentioned this as well, that omni-channel, if you're looking at how do we engage with our buyers through multiple channels. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. I want to go into some of the challenges. Let's take some time and deep dive into some of these areas here, team, about some of the main challenges and benefits you and your teams have experienced since going through digital, since going all digital and virtual. And Liz, why don't I start with you first on this discussion, especially when it comes to a field force that was always used to face-to-face, right, in insurance, shaking the person's hands, meeting that person and building relationships. You guys have really taken an interesting turn and twist. Talk a little bit about some of the challenges and benefits you and your team has experienced by going all virtual and digital.
Yeah, so I think the main challenge has obviously been we are losing that human touch, right? That human interaction, that ability to kind of read the body language, that where are those arms, how far are we leaning back, all that seemingly, where's that leg cross, going, in those body language cues that often really strong salespeople will use. You're losing some of that. So that definitely is a challenge. And yet I have seen our people that have really gone through the video training and understand how to really capture an audience and really also engage well in video with the right body language. They are actually able to get on track and actually get close ratios very close to what they were doing with in-person sales, which is amazing. We've really had a tremendous amount of success here. And I would say that, it's really bridging the gap where people are worried that they're really not going to get the amount of sales that they traditionally have received in the past. I think that we are seeing that we're closing that gap. So good news.
And you mentioned specifically the use of video. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about some of the use cases that you guys have had, especially one of your sellers has built a pretty awesome personal brand. Is it less risky in 60? Is that the hashtag?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. She's done an amazing job by building her own personal brand and taking content from the company and developing it, and really an awesome following. And actually, so now we got all everybody at Vengreso is like, watch our student, watch what she's doing. She's great. She's done an awesome job, Jordan. Appreciate that insights. Let me just bounce over to you, Hang, and talk about some of the main challenges and benefits of your team has experienced.
Well, first and foremost, I want to address the video a little bit. Forbes has just released a statistic that when we have our video on, the quality of communication is 62% higher, engagement is 73% higher, and levels of understanding are 50% higher. So it's really, really important to still have that human interaction. So one of the things that we're finding is we're really encouraging our customers to get on video. And even if they don't get on video, we stay on video so that they can see our bodily cues. We were listening to Chris Voss the other day, and he was mentioning when you smile, when you have a positive attitude, you're building that relationship and you're triggering those mirror neurons in the person you're speaking to, even if their video is off. So we've had quite a few learnings. We've definitely amped up our digital presence, as you know, making sure that all of our profiles are in order and that we're very thoughtful on how we engage with the public.
Fair. Jodie, did you want to comment on this as well in terms of any benefits or challenges?
Yeah, the first, I'm going to jump into the challenge section first. And a little bit is just the challenges is when you present something new to an inside sales organization, you're asking them to change their basic go to market function, which is pick up the phone, dial that number, and hopefully somebody on the other end picks up. And then once we overcame those challenges and really people started seeing the benefits, like we just, and Mario, I'm sure you're aware of this, we got a couple of success stories just the other day that people are just finished your training. And one of them mentioned that now that he's following and communicating through different mediums, that he's able to say when there's acquisitions going on, maybe when somebody's promoted, and then he gives that personal touch back to say, hey, like, thank you, congratulations. And then another gentleman mentioned that he's posting a lot of industry trends. And then that all of a sudden the lines of communications opened up just on the post to where he's finding other opportunities by just doing this simple little task. And it's no longer pick up the phone, hope somebody picks up, then wonder what you're going to say. You can really do this through just other means. And we've had a tremendous success on it. Once we overcame the initial challenges is getting the old dog to do some new tricks.
Yeah. And that could be easy or hard. Easy in that I think people realize I have to pivot and I have to pivot fast. And the hard part is what do I do and how do I be successful? Hang, a couple of questions are coming in from the chat, and individuals are asking for you to identify those specific stats that you just mentioned a second ago. So could you run through those stats one more time with respects to Gartner's, I think it was the Magic Quadrant analysis?
Was it the Gartner Magic Quadrant one or the Forbes one?
Forbes, sorry, it was Forbes.
So with Forbes, I've got to go find it now. What we see is with video, you get 62% higher quality communication, 73% engagement, and 50% improved understanding.
And that actually matches, for those of you listening out there, every one of our panelists here are customers of Vengreso and gone through our digital sales training programs. And one of the things that we've spent a lot of time talking about is in the old days, most reps used predominantly 1 to 2 channels of communication. It was phone and email. And now in COVID era, and what will happen even if a cure is found, life is going to continue to remain somewhat constant. And I know some of you have some perspectives on this as well. We need to figure out how to add the other channels, so create an omni-channel approach. And Liz's team went to leveraging video and doing profile development for LinkedIn engagement. And Hang's team has done that as well. And Jodie's team has done that as well on the social side, and soon probably to be looking at video. But here's a stat for you. And this was produced by hundreds of thousands of points of data points, that when you, a seller, are using 1 to 2 forms of communication or outreach to a prospect in the prospecting phase, your buyer level engagement is roughly around 10%. But add on a third channel to a fourth channel. So maybe your first 2 are email and phone, second is video and social. When you add on that third or fourth channel, your buyer level engagement goes to 40%. So from 10% to 40%, so a 400% increase. And there's actually a logical reason behind that. And that is, Hang may like to be communicated over social. I can 100% assure you that Liz likes the phone. And I can also assure you that Jodie will respond fastest to text. And so every single buyer is different. And we as sellers have to manage through that. Leaders, my panelists, I'll throw it out to any one of you. Any commentary on what you've seen in terms of an omni-channel approach to engagement and some of those benefits?
So I'll mention that, we are really evaluating not only our sales cadence, but our sales tool stack in order to embed the omni-channel presence, making sure that we're touching people through the different channels. I don't know about you, but I get very irritated if someone tries to call me 3 times. If I didn't pick up the first 2, I'm not going to pick up the third time. And so when people try different ways to reach me, as you mentioned, Mario, that's better. So again, I want to, we really try to impress on our sales team, meet the customer where and how they want to be met. Try the different sales cadences, and most likely you'll hit a nerve with them as far as where they want to be and how they want to be reached. So in a way, you're showing them deference and respect for their time.
Can I give you an amen to that one, Hank? Please do not call me 3 times in a row. Liz.
Yes. And I'll say, I think most of us have really been experiencing inside of the COVID world, particularly just this barrage of email, because we know that people are not at the office. We may or may not have somebody's cell phone. So people are driving so much through email that there is so much email that people are just lost in it. So unless you're starting to engage in other channels or have a way to get a cell phone as, getting on the phone with somebody, you better be focused on getting out in front and getting people to see you in video in some format, and then hopefully driving that through, your LinkedIn channel as well. So, the truth be told is that you cannot really reach prospects the same way today. So this omni-channel process is critical.
And one comment, I know I'm kind of going off track here in terms of the preparation questions, but speaking on that topic, team, you all took the time to really take your sellers through a skills-based training approach to the how. How do I create videos to be able to attract my buyer? How should I go through social to be able to attract my buyer or to engage with the buying community? Is that something that you think is worth it? That sellers need to understand the how and the why and the where? Or could you just say, here's your tools, here's your video tool, here's your prospecting tool, go forth and be successful with a little bit of guidance and maybe a couple of scripts? What has your experience been?
I'll start. I think you absolutely have to do all 3 of them, because if you only give them one of them and they only focus on one, they're missing out on the other 2. And if they truly don't understand it, they're missing a big chunk of the pie out there. And Mario, just to back up a little bit too, just because I wanted to talk about this omni-channel. One thing that we're probably doing a little bit different than the other 2 is we're actually using this to measure success inside of an opportunity. Because if I get a cell phone, if you text me, I'm going to respond a lot quicker for whatever reason. Phone's always in my hand. But once we hit certain levels of the phone call, then the Zoom meeting and maybe the attachment on LinkedIn and some of the other stuff, and once we we start to measure that success in the actual opportunity, because the deeper you get inside them, the more relationship and more likely that opportunity is going to happen, or at least move forward with it. So a different way to look at it.
Right.
Hanger, Liz, anything to add?
I think I think my colleagues have covered that one fairly well.
There's a question that came in on chat, team, and I think it's applicable because we talked about this. The question is, how are your sellers capturing people's preference of communication? And I'll tell you, I'll start with that one because I think this is teeing off of what you said, that you try your cadence. You're doing a phone, you're doing a text, you're doing email, a video, and social. Which one is the one that's engaging? So for our sellers at Vengreso, we are absolutely tracking this, and it's based upon the cadence. So we have tasks built out for every one of the cadences, and we're tagging from a commenting perspective, which is the one that we think is the right channel for them to engage on, that it creates the engagement. So we are very specifically tracking that on all the different channels. And then we use just some good old fashioned, art of selling. And that is look at the data and continue on that particular channel. Did you have any comments on that? Are you tracking it specifically inside of like your CRM?
Well, we are definitely, we're actually going through and reevaluating our sequences. And so we'll go through and do some A/B testing. One of the tips that I like to use is to ensure, and again, it shows respect and deference. If you have someone's phone number, maybe email them and say, I believe this is your phone number. Would you prefer for me to reach out to you via email or phone? For me, that shows a lot of respect for my time and for how I want to be met. But yes, when you're looking at sales cadence, it's absolutely important to run some A/B tests on your messaging, but also your messaging style, your messaging content, and your digitization.
Very good. And we've also been doing this as well from a marketing perspective as well, working back with our marketing department and saying, hey guys, don't just send out a general newsletter, map that newsletter to buyer personas and levels as well within the organization. With the content and the messaging inside there. So we're really trying to drive back a lot of, I think what we're saying is hyper personalization in engagement. Let's move on to the next question. And that is thinking about all the things that we just talked about in terms of some of the challenges that we were trying to solve. What did you change, if anything, to help solve some of those problems? And I know we focused a lot on prospecting and communication. One of the things that we didn't touch on is things related to family-like culture and team camaraderie and team building. So feel free to move beyond outside of the quote digitalization and into virtualization type of topics as well. So what changes did you implement, if any? And I certainly have some examples that we've done here internally as well. So I'll throw that back out too, and we'll start with Jodie. Maybe we'll start with you and then we'll come back to the ladies.
Some of the things that we change is really, instead of, because it's inside sales, we used to look at it as brute force effort, right? I mean, pick up the phone and dial. And one of the things that we change is we actually sit down and listen to our sellers and what's going to work for them and how are they going to use it inside their specific customer base. And another thing we changed also is we tried to make it a little bit of competitive on Salesforce through success stories to share with the masses, and also added some additional data inside our CRM system to track that, to use it a little bit of a competitive nature. And also just from a personal thing is that it allows these folks, doesn't matter where they're at in the world, I mean, and with their family life and everything else, that they can connect and they can do it. I mean, I can be sent on an airplane and I can actually be working via my phone through LinkedIn or some of the other aspects of it. And we've allowed our people to do it wherever they need to do it and what time they need to do it at, because I mean, most buyers out there, they tend to look at their cell phone and other media at all hours of the night. And so sometimes we communicate with them at all hours of the night based off their preference.
I know that for sure, because I get to talk to you later on in the evenings on text message and hang on the weekends. And Liz too, same with you. But okay, all right. So Liz, let's go to you. Anything in terms of what have you changed to help solve some of the problems that we just talked about, and what have you seen as some of the results?
Yeah, I think, a lot of the issues I think that our teams have, I mean, let's just break it down to something very simple, is that people are feeling a lot more stressed. I think there's a lot of uncertainty around how they're going to actually effectively reach out to customers and to be effective. And, they've had this training, which is great, and they are moving forward. But at the same time, just the whole change of the way that the cadence of their day works, that they're normally at home, they're not in the office. I had a meeting yesterday, and people wanted an emotional check-in. And so if our teams are feeling that way, then certainly our prospects and our clients are feeling that way. So we have decided to get a video campaign around just doing that emotional check-in with people, and helping them understand that we're feeling very similarly to the way that they are. It is a new day, and just trying to connect in that way, rather than it just being really strictly about the features and benefits of what we offer, right? That we really are getting back into that emotional connection, and people buy from people they like and who they feel they relate to. So if we're able to make that emotional connection, I think that's key.
That's so true, Liz. I find that authenticity has always been important, but now more than ever, like you said, people buy from people. So let's just be real humans. One of the things that I think has happened during COVID, especially at the beginning, we have all of our days have been so stretched, don't you think? The hours start earlier, they end later. Lunch is, maybe in between meetings. So what I advise people is, just because you have a time slot, don't feel like you have to use every minute. Use the minutes that are efficient, and then give people time back. I try to be very good about separating work from home. So for our team, we only use our work-based connectivity tools during work hours. I get everyone off of text, because that's for personal use. So, those are some things that we're doing. If we're working with our customers, same thing. Again, let's just be respectful of their times. I've started booking 25-minute meetings and 50-minute meetings instead of 30 and 60, just to give everyone that little bit of space.
Good ideas. I'll give you a couple ideas that we've done, and this is more on the internal side of things. In terms of creating to Liz's point, you said everybody's feeling more stressed. I cannot disagree with you. We actually have created what's called the virtual receiving line. So we welcome every new employee, no matter what the role is in the organization. We do the day that they show up, within 2 hours after they do their first set of onboarding and get the computer turned on. We have an all hands company call that's sponsored by me. And we invite the whole entire company, and we sit there for 15 minutes and welcome them, get to know who they are. We give 2 pieces of advice that we give them, one from an old timer and one from a new timer. And we do the virtual high fives. We record it and we put it out on YouTube. And it's a way for us to be able to get that virtual connection to that individual. We also created our Vengreso happy hours, where we're actually getting together, cocktail in hand. Hang, I took that from you, from what you guys were doing over at Juniper. I think you started it, was the happy hour in the evening. And we also took and we did our Vengresonian hours. So basically once a week, we used to do Pilates. We did, what was that, Taibo? What was the guy's name that does the Taibo? Where everybody can come in and we're exercising together virtually. And I also made an announcement to the organization that every day from 1 to 2, that was my time that I was going to go spend with my boys. And so don't book me, don't bother me, don't call me, don't interrupt me, because 1 to 2 is my time, and we're bleeding over into the 1 to 2 o'clock hour today. But that was a way for in this case, my wife, who's now trying to take care of the kids who are homeschooled, giving her an opportunity to be able to at least have a little bit of downtime. And then the final thing that I did was, and I would love to hear from you guys, just from a pure leadership perspective, become more real and authentic to your word, Hang. In chat the other night, it was 10:30 at night. My son, 6-year-old, decided he didn't want to go to sleep. So we decided we were going to sing, and we sang a couple songs. I recorded and put it out on chat. When I was going to go jump in the pool with the kids, it was 2:00 in the afternoon, and I decided that I was going to show everybody that it's okay to take breaks, and it's okay to be able to have that downtime. So really becoming more real as an authentic leader, and those are some of the things that I've done as well. So if there's not anything to add, we can kind of move on to the next topic. Anything to add for anybody?
I would just say one thing. I think people worry that are they, you know, a lot of people are working even harder. Some people are not, but for those that really are leaning in and working really hard, they almost work themselves into the ground, and that is showing up. And so I've kind of forced, with some of the things you were talking about, Mario, is let's get time for self-care. So I just say you have a mandatory 1 hour walk with the dog. Just let me know when your walk with the dog is going to happen, and so that I know not to bother you. And I'm giving that permission as a leader, to your point, to have them just embrace self-care, because that way, and this is going to be a marathon. COVID is going to be a bit of a marathon if it hasn't been already. And it does allow people to say, okay, wow, leadership really does care about me. They care about me personally first and foremost. And then that helps them lean in even more, I think, because you're a family that's pulling together. So.
So yes, I'm sorry, Jodie, go ahead.
I was just going to just kind of jump on that too, as we do very similar things. This is one of the things I always advise my leaders when they're talking with their sales reps is never start the conversation with, well, like, is this deal coming in? It's really, I call it, have the mental health check minute, and just really ask them, how are you doing today? How's things going? You know, how's the family, blah, blah, blah. How's your health, whatever it may be. And it really just personalizes it, because we do care about them. And sometimes we forget because we're like Liz says, we're running at 1,000 miles an hour, and we just need to step back and just really relax and just take that mental health minute and ask them.
So I'll tell you a very quick story, and it was something that was extremely insightful that as a leader, I had never thought about. It was about 10:30 at night, my time, and it was 12:30 in the morning for somebody else. And they saw that I was on IM, and they IM'd me, and I answered the question back. And then they said, I'm going to call you. And then they called me, and I said, what are you doing working? This is outrageous. And the individual said, oh, you know, I'm up. I needed to take care of this. I'm like, man, you need to turn on the dial on the TV, just go relax, take it off. Stop thinking about work. And then something very interesting happened that I had never thought of. And the individual said to me, Mario, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to stop asking me to stop working. And I said, scratch my head. Okay. And he said, you don't understand. It's been 6 months. I'm single. I'm by myself. I have no one here with me. I don't have anybody to hug. I don't have anybody to rest my head with next to. I haven't hugged somebody in 6 months because I'm afraid of getting COVID, because I also have, am susceptible to getting sick. So please stop telling me to work, because that's the only thing that's actually keeping me sane. Because if I stop, then I start thinking about, and I become depressed. And I thought, wow, what a different way to have thought about someone's individual situation as being a single person. And then he reminded me, he says, you've got 2 kids and you got a wife. You get to hug them, play with them, have fun with them. I don't. And I just thought, oh, wow, that was very interesting. I never thought about that in terms of that individual person. So every person in this, to your point, Liz, like every person that we're dealing with as leaders, you've got to have every individual person has a different situation. We need to keep that in mind.
Yeah, can I make one comment to that, Mario?
Yeah.
I'm definitely someone who has ended up sick from working too much. I think we need to make sure that our teams understand that they need to pace themselves. Virtual was 40%. Virtual meetings were 40% last year. They're 99% this year, based on Gartner data, again, newly released on meeting platforms. Conservative estimates have us 75% virtual next year. So to comment on your team member, maybe I would encourage them to find some habits that are also very healthy, such as, finding a way to work out, finding, where they can still stay safe, but also stay sane.
Fair point. Yeah, absolutely. There was a question here on chat, and it's back to our cadence questions that we talked about. So Hang, I think this is probably going to come back to you. And the question is how are you connecting these new normal sales strategies and cadences back to the role of sales enablement?
Oh, that's fun.
Take it away.
Well, again, our job is to make our sellers' jobs easier. So we are actually extending some of our SDR motions and tools into field sales. And I know this was a question you have coming up. However, just because we're using the same tools doesn't mean that it's going to be exactly the same. The buyer's going to react differently if you're a small business versus a small enterprise versus a large enterprise. So our job in enablement is to constantly test everyone and make sure that we're constantly evolving, right? So this, I always tell people, don't worry about going back to normal, and don't think of today as the new normal. There's no such thing. Always think about the next normal. I'm preparing for when we are 75% virtual versus 100% virtual. I think that's where enablement steps in, is that we're ready, we're skating to where the puck is, so that our field teams will be ready as the future changes.
Very good. All right, let's move on to, thank you, Hang. Let's move on to our next topic, and something that's near and dear to my heart, and we've touched on it a little bit, that's digital selling. And I mentioned this earlier, a lot of leaders in this time have just thought, hey, I know my sellers need help. They need an alternative channel that's either a cadence tool, they need a video sales acceleration tool. Heck, they need LinkedIn or LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So why don't we just give them some product training, do a few short sessions, invite our sales enablement team to kind of do a little bit of this, and social media to do a little bit of that. And then magically we have our digital sellers and they can go out and prospect. Now, all three companies are Vengreso digital selling clients. So talk about what you guys have learned in terms of really immersing your sellers through a skill set training program that has, and some of the benefits that you've seen as a result of that. Let's start with you, Liz, and then with Jodie, and then Hang.
Yes. So I think for all the people that are on this call today in this session, what we're finding is there's some other platforms that are out there that seemingly are very simplistic and free, and it's just a click away and you got a video that you're putting out on the internet somewhere or into potentially an email to a prospect. And the truth be told is we had actually some of our people initially had kind of decided that they were going to go that route, but the quality of that work was really, really poor. And, good for them that a few of our salespeople were trying to be aggressive, get out there, but really didn't have best practices down in the least. And it showed up. And then that's a reflection of our organization. So I think as you review who it is that you're going to partner with in this arena for training your salespeople, you really want to make sure that you really get the best of the best. Obviously, we, after our vetting and our due diligence, we picked the Vengreso team. And frankly, we're thrilled that we did, because they leaned in. I mean, initially we thought some of our training was going to just last maybe, 8 weeks or so. And hopefully we were going to get some engagement and some behavior, true modification with the sales team. And frankly, Mario and I decided that we were going to extend it another 30 days just to really get that true change in behavior. And it really has paid off. I mean, we've had some really good engagement on video. We had actually one of our salespeople ended up sending out 50 videos to CFOs and CEOs. And literally within the first, I think it was 35 minutes, they had well over 30 clicks on those videos. And that ultimately led to appointments and closing. So, if you're, that's amazing stuff. And Mario had mentioned earlier, we have another woman on our team who has put together a very profound sort of slogan of, we're insurance brokers, so we're about reducing risk. And so she put a video series together that she's pushing out through LinkedIn, and it's called Less Risky in 60. And every week to maybe 10 days, but it's probably every week, she's putting out videos that are fun. They're 1 minute long. They're helpful tips, and she's garnering quite a following. So, the engagement is there, but make sure that you really do pick the right partner in this process, and make sure that your team really does get some of that behavior modification, and then you'll be really happy with the results.
Awesome. Thank you, Liz. Jodie?
So when we first started with Vengreso, we ran a small 3-month, or I guess the social selling 3-month program. We ran it with a small pilot, and and I'm going to give myself all the credit for it, but I get none of the credit. We did this pre-COVID, so we were actually ahead of the mark. I'll take credit if anybody wants to give it to me, but
you get it.
We ran this and we had massive success into it. And so it really, when we ran that pilot program and saw some of this success, we could truly go back and correlate not only the leaders who are running this with their teams down to the individuals. Those are some of the most successful people we have inside of our organization. So after we ran that, we ran the full phase, and we're wrapping up on our final one, I want to say in the next couple of weeks, with my whole organization over almost the past about 8 months to a year, I think it's been. And we're also looking at video. I mean, I hear what Liz says, and now I'm more excited about it. And one of the things I can say about choosing the right partner out there is when we picked Vengreso, we jumped on board with them. And I mean, we had weekly communications with the team. And now that we're this far deep into it, I can really say they are a partner of ours. They're not only just a provider of it, they're a true partner, to where not only the folks have been through the sales training, they continue to seek advice and give advice on what we're doing. And it just makes us better and better every day. So again, like Liz says, for those people out there seeking something like that, don't look just for a vendor, look for a partner, and look for somebody who's going to jump right inside the fight with you. And Vengreso's done that with us.
Thank you, Jodie. Hang.
For us, it's about success stories. And what I will tell people is, look, resistance is futile. Everyone is talking about pipeline. And all that enablement can do, we can give people the right tools. We can give you the fishing rod, the bait, and the skills. But the sellers actually still have to be the ones to apply the practice. They have to own their own pipeline destiny. And we see that those who are taking their time to invest in learning how to do things differently in a more modern and current fashion, they're just more successful. Full stop. We see that buyers are looking at their profiles. Buyers are reaching out to them. Buyers are engaging with them proactively. I mean, how cool is that when you go look at who's viewed your profile, and they're all prospects that you've been trying to hunt into. But now that you're showing some thought leadership, they're interested in you. So often what I'll tell my teams is, in today's modern world, if you're not in front of the curve, you're going to fall behind it. So sellers have to learn to meet the buyers where they are in their own digital space, in the middle of doing their own research. So, we have to provide value. And we've seen use case after use case and example after example of our sellers, the ones who engage, are more successful hunting into their white space.
I love it. Well, we got about 1 minute and 30 seconds left. And so we're going to do a lightning round, very fast, rapid fire. And what we're looking for are some characteristics that you're looking for as leaders when hiring a remote sales rep. So characteristics, we'll do lightning round. You could think of any words, 1 word, 2 words, 10 words. Jodie, go.
Somebody who likes the digital age.
Liz.
Somebody, when I test them, they score high on entrepreneurship.
I like that. Hang.
I look for the same thing I look for in anyone in my personal life. IQ plus EQ plus drive.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Awesome. We got 45 seconds left. Here we go. Lightning round. What are some tips for leading a digital, virtual, remote selling team effectively? Hang. Take it away.
Be authentic and be relentless.
Mm-hmm.
Liz.
Hold your salespeople that have gone through the training, hold them accountable, and they'll lean in, because otherwise they want to pull back a little bit, because it is a little bit daunting sometimes to stick with it. And yet you need to hold them accountable. And as they do, and they push forward, they do have success, to what Hang was saying.
Jodie, 15 seconds.
Accountability, have a process, and hold them accountable to the process.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, we finished right on time. I'm so proud of you guys. I want to thank you, Jodie Mattinson, Liz Bishop, Hang Black from Juniper, Heffins Insurance, and Proofpoint. You guys are amazing guests. Thank you for joining me, and congratulations on the success that you're seeing inside of your own sales organizations, especially in this selling era inside of COVID. So appreciate you, and all of you out there. I hope you appreciated this particular session on modernizing, digitizing, and virtualizing your Salesforce. Team, say goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.